Hello, my name is Stephanie Chung, and today I will be presenting on Inventing Capitalism, From Foragers to Capitalists. So the title of my presentation, Inventing Capitalism, suggests that capitalism might not be the natural state of humans. In fact, in his book The Gift, Marcel Mauss writes, "It is our Western societies who have recently made man an economic animal, but we are not yet all creatures of this genus. For a very long time, man was something different, and he has not been a machine for very long, made complicated by a calculating machine." Mauss is right. Man has not been an economic animal for very long, and this idea of man as a capitalistic creature is very new. For the majority of human history, humans have lived in hunter-gatherer foraging societies that were not capitalistic at all. In fact, humans still live in hunter-gatherer foraging societies that are not capitalistic at all. For example, the Johansi in southern Africa, pictured on the right. So if capitalism can be characterized as limited means and unlimited wants, then these pre-capitalistic societies can be characterized as unlimited means and limited wants, including the foragers of today. There are a lot of misconceptions about foragers. For example, that being a forager meant an awful existence full of bad food and hard work, and that evolutionarily they were somehow below industrialized societies. They hadn't quite made it yet. But the reality was that foragers had highly varied diets, that they only worked between 3 to 5 hours a week, much different from our 40-hour work week of today, and their wants were easily satisfied. Also, unilineal evolution, looking at human societies on a scale that goes from savages to barbarians to modern humans, is a flawed way to look at people and to look at human societies, because there is no end goal for the perfect human society. There are many different ways that humans can organize themselves to have a functioning system. The needs and wants of foragers are very different from the needs and wants of capitalists. Solons, in The Original Affluent Society, writes, "The hunter, one is tempted to say, is an uneconomic man. At least as concerns non-subsistence goods, he is the reverse of that standard caricature immortalized in any General Principles of Economics, page 1. Economic man is a bourgeois construction." What does this mean? That foragers and hunters do not endlessly lust after non-subsistence goods. They do not want more and more and more. Foragers make use of their environment. They can see everything they could possibly use just by looking around them. And because there is such an abundance of goods, there is no scarcity. They don't want more and more and more, because in these roaming bands, it is impractical to carry too many possessions around. Anything they want, they can make. That means if they need to discard it, when they need another one later, they can just make another one later. For example, in this picture, we see a Johansi woman drinking out of an ostrich shell. This is not the only ostrich shell in the area. If she needs a new one later, she can make a new one, which means she can discard this one when she's done with it. Missionaries and anthropologists saw this when they were working with foraging societies, and they'd give them something like cloth and expect these people to treat it as a precious object. For a while they did, but then they discarded it because in their world, anything you need, you can just make again later. So how did many human societies move from this to capitalism? Well, specifically in the 17th and 18th century colonial Virginian architecture, we can see how people gradually moved away from relying on each other in collectivist societies to starting to be a bit more independent. Alison Bell writes about this in White Ethnogenesis and Gradual Capitalism, Perspectives from Colonial Archaeological Sites in the Chesapeake. For example, did people choose between nucleated settlements and enclosure? Nucleated settlements were popular in feudal England. Houses were very close together in a little town, and all the spaces around the village, as you can see in this picture, were used for architecture. The villages did not own the fields, those were owned by the feudal lords, but the villages decided who was going to work what field when. The field a family might work one year might be left fallow another year, and they would work a different field. This was a more collectivist orientation because the village decided what would be best for everybody. However, with the beginning of enclosure around the end of the 16th century, feudal lords privatized their fields. Families had their fields and they were blocked off with fences and enclosed. Houses were further apart, there was more privatization and a more capitalist orientation because each family had to work the same land year in, year out. They were doing it for their benefit and not for the benefit of the entire town. When settlers moved to Virginia, Most of them chose the sort of enclosed fields where their houses were far apart and they had their own property. On these properties, they of course had to build their houses. Did they choose earth-fast or stone houses? Earth-fast houses, as you can see in the picture, are made of wood. Wood rots every 10 or so years, and this planned obsolescence was more collectivist. Every 10 or so years, the entire community had to get together and rebuild the houses. Of course, because they were made of wood, this also freed up money for tobacco. This was unlike stone houses, which were more expensive, although they were sturdier, and did not need to be replaced frequently with the help of the community. These were more capitalistic because the people in these houses didn't need to rely on their neighbors to rebuild their houses every year. Surprisingly, a lot of settlers in 17th and 18th century colonial Virginia chose to build earth-fast houses because they wanted to keep their communities tight-knit, even though they were further apart with enclosed spaces. Finally, what was the inside of their houses like? Did they choose through passage, hall parlor, or central passage houses? Through passage houses, as you can see in this picture, had a parlor, a hall, the through passage, and then, importantly, the service quarters. Laborers and the family all lived, slept, ate, and worked in the same building. This was more collectivist. Everyone was together, their environment was the same. Hall parlor houses, on the other hand, had a parlor on the left, the hall on the right, and not pictured here, but somewhere out in left field, were the laborers' quarters. This type of design was very welcoming to people who are of the same status. They're immediately in the house, they immediately see the hall and the parlor. It is alienating toward laborers. The laborers are no longer welcomed into the family life. We also see central passage houses. Central passage houses are alienating toward everybody. Visitors come in the central passage and they are blocked off from the hall and the parlor. And again, the laborers are out somewhere in left field. Everyone is alienated with this sort of design. So what did colonial Virginians choose? Hall parlor houses. They wanted to be close to people of the same social status and far apart from the laborers who were slaves out by the animals. That was who they were associated with. These settlement patterns tell us plenty about how people think because they make choices about how and where to settle. They choose an enclosed settlement, which is more capitalistic, but earth-fast houses to create bonds between white people because all the white people lived in the same types of houses and had to depend on each other. And hall parlor houses allowed more bonds between people of the same social class and more distance between laborers and their owners. So, if capitalism wasn't inherently human, there must be some people now who don't act like capitalists, right? Well, aside from the foragers in southern Africa, there are people in capitalist societies who don't really act like capitalists. For example, Mr. Money Mustache, real name Peter Abney, and his wife run a blog talking about the financial decisions they've made to live an anti-capitalist lifestyle. They saved up hundreds of thousands of dollars as software engineers so that they could retire early, which they can do because they live on an extremely restricted budget of $24,000 a year. They try to be both environmentally friendly and anti-capitalistic because they don't give in to the idea that they have to want more and more and more. They say, this is enough. Even though I could purchase more things, I'm going to draw the line here. Another example is the Burning Man Festival, a week-long social experiment in Reno, Nevada that espouses radical self-sufficiency and has a gifting economy, not a capitalist economy. Aside from ice and coffee, which is provided by the festival to buy and sell, people trade what they need with each other. They have skills, they have objects, and these are given to each other rather than demanded or bought. There are no souvenirs, there are no mementos, it is about the experience. Additionally, some girls in the United States, instead of buying prom dresses, get creative and make them out of Starburst wrappers. Instead of going to the store and participating in this, I need one that's better than the rest of my classmates, I need one that's designer, these girls enlist the help of their communities to eat all these candies and make these elaborate dresses out of wrappers that take years to make. So what can we conclude from this? I can see from this that endless consumer demand is not something that is human, and it is something that humans created. Therefore, it is possible to critically examine one's life and ask, where do we want to draw the line? Where is scarcity imagined? Where are these unlimited needs that we keep having pressed upon us by the media and by advertisements, something that we don't actually need? My sources. And that was Inventing Capitalism, from Forgers to Capitalists. Thank you.